we had to meet with some distressed HBC residents in Gomez housing development. And as such, the leader is meeting with them at the moment. However, we have enough powerful persons on stage to begin. As such, I would like to begin with the national anthem, followed by the prayer. The national anthem will be rendered by Dr. Carleen Suku. I will invite Dr. Carleen Suku to do the anthem while I invite you to stand. It will be followed by Pandit Budi for the prayer.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we shall loudly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Thank you, Dr. Suku. I will now invite Pandit Madhu to lead us in prayer. And I'm indeed really happy to see this young Pandit. To say how long I was around, his father was actually my classmate at St. Stephen's College. Welcome, Pandit Madhu, and thank you for staying longer than we planned.
Praise Shri Ramachandra Ki Jai, sisters and brothers, devotees, well-wishers. We bow heads in prayer. We pray for all those experiencing problems. Many have died and sick because of natural disasters. We ask for Almighty God, Bhagwan Shri Ram, whichever form of God that we believe in, we ask God to bless all the members of this party and the entire nation, all the politicians, to give them the strength, the willpower and the determination to help this country and the world at large as we all pray together for peace and harmony. Om Ganapataye Namah. Om Ganapataye Namah. Vakatundan Mahataya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurme Deva Sarvakajeshu Sarvada Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatu Jayam Udirayet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We pray for peace, let there be peace, let there be peace, let there be peace. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you all. My brothers and sisters, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Thank you. I want to welcome you to this our Pavement Report. Unique because this is one of the first Pavement Report our political leader would be attending to do the feature address. I want to welcome you to the marginal constituency of Moruga-Tabelland. Moruga-Tabelland, a constituency that was neglected for many, many years until the Kamala Prasad administration came into power in 2010. A constituency in which we found over 100 landslips. A constituency in which we did quite a lot of work. However, in 2015, I am not saying ni macaron. In 2015, however, 27,913 persons voted. 10,808 of those votes went to those persons supporting PIP. Leader PIP. And we got 10,275. A loss is a loss. We would have lost by 533 votes. And that is why the leader found it necessary, along with the councillor, to go up into the HBC development that you can clearly say they're putting in people to vote a pardon. Because up to this day, we cannot understand where they got that 533 votes from. They are very, very skillful. My brothers and sisters, I want to welcome you to this beautiful primary school built by the Kamala-led Prasad government. Put your hands together. But to really appreciate the school, you have to understand, for 30 years before that, they had the people housed under people's homes for 30 years. And what is even more amazing, we are right here at the epicenter of the Balije supporting group. But do you think they really care about them? They only care about them to use them for vote. And after that, they pack them up, they say goodbye. What they do, they starve you for 4 to 5 years. And then they call what they call the political Stockholm syndrome. At the last minute they come and they drop a little water on your tongue and you say, hallelujah, they are so great. They are heavenly, they are God sent. But they suffer you. My brothers and sisters, you know, I'm hearing all this stupidness about PIP, and that is why I said leader PIP. I remember as a student of literature, I remember reading Charles Kingsley's book, Great Expectations, and one of the main characters there, the narrator, was Pip. They shortened his name Pip. There was a part of it with Pip and the convict. But more so, when I heard that people say about foul this and that, I thought in terms of a certain leader. Great Expectations, and I want to say, I'm probably changing the narrative a little. There were great expectations, but what people realized, in the end it was only negative results, moral decadence, and that is exactly what we are facing at this point in time. My brothers and sisters, I also want to paraphrase what I'm going to say tonight, to identify, they say, there are 5 types of liars. They say there are the white liars. They only make up a kind of lie. I don't know why they're saying white lies instead of black liars. They say they are the careless liars. They say they are the occasional liars. They say they have the pathological liars. But when you put all of them together, I realize that leadership PIP, they say Dr. Eric Williams was the father of the nation. But I want to say here and tonight, I rechristen him, I rebrand him as the father of lies and liars. He is a compulsive pathological liar. Leadership pick. Brothers and sisters, enough said. We have, to use the hackneyed phrase, a battery of young and eloquent speakers. And to lead us tonight, we have a young man, a young attorney at law, strong, not only strong in the thought process, as opposed to the other side, where I can say their cognitive capacity is vacuous. They have absolutely nothing inside there except lies and more lies. I want to present to you a young attorney, brilliant, bright, strong, Mr. Sean Sobers, Senator Sean Sobers. Put your hands together.
Good night to the Honourable Political Leader, Ms. Kamala Prasad Bisesa of Senior Council, Honourable Members of both Houses of Parliament, Members of the National Executive, the distinguished residents of the Gomez Trace Housing Development, which we just came from, and members of the Moruga Tableland constituency. To all listening members of the public as well too, I say a special good night as well to you too. We are here tonight as part of the United National Congress's sustained response to the inefficiencies and inequalities that plague our beautiful Twin Island nation. That we are all too familiar with rising crime, a failed economy, lack of jobs, and with specific reference to some members of our audience this evening, poor housing. When we are considering housing, the first thing that comes to mind is the Housing Development Corporation, the authority that has and continues to be mandated with the responsibility to construct homes in this country. Now, this mandate is not just empty talk. This mandate is actually law, codified as statute. The HDC has a statutory obligation pursuant to the Housing Development Corporation Act, Chapter 3303, to provide affordable, lower-income housing to its applicants. Section 13 of the Act states inter alia, subject to this Act, it shall be the function and duty of the corporation to do all things necessary and convenient for or in connection with the provision of affordable shelter and associated community facilities for low and middle income earners. So the question to be asked, ladies and gentlemen, is whether the HDC, and by extension, this wicked and uncaring PNM administration, has failed in delivering this mandate, just like they failed at everything else that they are doing. Let us examine this situation, brothers and sisters. Cast your minds to the residents of Gomez Trace, where we just came from. Focus specifically on the plight of the residents of Gomez Trace. Concentrate on the poorly built septic system of Mr. and Mrs. Hamilton George that overflows every couple of days due to all manner of liquids flowing into the septic system, which is supposed to specifically be for waste and on occasion the People's National Movement. Think about the poor plumbing done at the home of Mr. Kwame Brewster that leaks constantly and even flooded out his home in the first couple of days when he was moving in. Consider the poorly constructed home that Mr. Aaron Patrice lives in, where his property has been erected on some 10 feet stilts, with his egress point being at the back of the property with no back steps. God forbid there's a fire and Mr. Patrice's front access is blocked. He would have no choice but to dive precariously over the railings of his back door because of lack of steps. Reflect on a home that these residents have been forced into. And my friends, I say forced into because they were not afforded sufficient time to consult with an attorney before signing the very said presents for these homes. Homes, my friends, that are made up of measurements of about 40 feet by 22 feet for the 3-bedroom units and 32 feet by 21 feet for the 2-bedroom units. But all new homes, like in the words of our good friend Wilfred Espinade, all, not having any tiles on the floor, all having what I would call a face basin with a 2-door cupboard beneath it, being termed a kitchen sink, all having louvers for windows with no burglar proofing, and all having bedrooms and bathrooms that if you outstretch your hands, you'll be touching wall to wall. That the residents of Gomez Trace are being forced to live in these conditions. But yet a couple of miles away at the Fairfield development, homes were built with tiles and proper windows and cupboards, and a real kitchen sink with a proper sized bathroom and bedroom, and steps on the front and the back of the unit. You know who built those homes, my friends? Correct, the People's Partnership built those homes. Because we know about building homes for people. Which begs the question, my friends, why rush and build these homes and deliver them in such a deplorable and substandard way? Could it be, my friends, that the wicked and mischievous PNM administration has identified Maruga Tableland as a marginal constituency, and in their haste to vote upon, have chosen to herd people into homes more like sheds, no matter the condition? Could the PNM be that devious, that wicked and callous? The answer is a resounding yes. It does not end there, my friends, that during the construction of this particular development, units were hurriedly erected under one contractor and for unknown reasons stopped and had to be restarted and hastily completed by a separate contractor. The end result, unfortunately, being some sheds which the residents of Gomez Trace have resiliently turned into homes. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, again, the story does not end there. In what can be considered the most egregious and obscene aspect of this entire fiasco were the prices. The prices. So, I'll do it like if on a game show. For a poorly constructed 2-bedroom unit, untiled, small in measurement, louvers for windows, home prices were initially agreed to be $330,000. And then, at the last minute, they were unfairly changed to a whopping $450,000. And last but surely not least, for a similarly poorly constructed 3-bedroom unit, untiled, face basin doubling as a kitchen sink, with the absolute privilege of no cupboards, and in some instances sitting upon 10 feet silts with no proper egress, having the added bonus, just for your comfort, of leaking plumbing and an overflowing septic system, prices were initially agreed to be $420,000. And again, at the very last minute, without being given the opportunity to consult proper independent legal advice, they were changed to a whopping $625,000. All those amenities and prices soared exponentially, a difference of over $100,000 with no explanation. Well, at least as far as they were concerned. But the explanation that was given to them was take it or leave it. You didn't have much of a choice. So persons who waited for as much as 18 years, like Mr. Patrice, the joy of owning his own home was reduced to accepting a shed. He took it. He really didn't want to leave it. What other choice did he have? What other choice did any of the residents at Gomez Trace have? Imagine something so joyous and wondrous as owning your own home. Something that you waited in some cases a lifetime for. The PNM took it and in one swoop destroyed it. Nothing at all is sacred for this government. So what did the residents of Gomez Trace do? They didn't give up. They didn't take their situation lying down. They got up. They stood up. They unified their efforts and began to challenge the HDC and the government with the unfair, unethical, and wicked events thrust upon them from this uncaring and incompetent PNM administration. They formed a community group to challenge the HDC. I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, let not what the residents of Gomez Trace did go unnoticed. Let it be an example to you, wherever, whenever, and whatever you may be going through. Trust upon you by this uncaring PNM administration to unite and seek justice. Stand up and seek justice and explore all your options afforded to you by the law and the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Just like the people of Gomez Trace, where we in the United National Congress see hope, we see unity and love. We will stand with you. We will fight with you for change. That change ever so important. In closing, my friends, whilst we are on the subject of change, I know a lot of speakers utilize quotations from notable individuals abroad. But tonight, I recognize and utilize a quotation from a very distinguished individual here in Trinidad and Tobago. And this is what she said when it comes to change. I tell you, I have a plan, a mission, a vision, and I will take you there. We will walk that road to victory together. Before you know it, change will come. And that was said by none other than the leader of the opposition, Ms. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar. And believe you, my friends, she means it. We in the United National Congress, we mean it. And we will continue to work and fight with you for that change that will come very soon. I thank you.
Put it together for young attorney at law, civil and immigration lawyer, who is also giving support to the members of the housing community, Gomez. I want to bring on another bright, brilliant, and when I asked him, I said, what do I say about you? He said, good looking. You know, very handsome, man. I want to bring on Rishi Tripathi from Shagwanas. He said, my friend, they say Shagwanas. Civil and corporate lawyer who is supporting the HCC residents. Put your hands again for Rishi.
New Grant, good evening. Maruga Tableland, good evening. Let me hear you a little better than that. Good evening. Honorable political leader, Mrs. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, Senior Counsel, who is on her way. Members of Parliament, our lions in the lower house, MPs Padarat and Rodney Charles, senators, local government representatives, members of the National Executive, and our chairman, Mr. Clifton Nikoto. Good evening. Brothers and sisters of the United National Congress, good evening. Friends, it is an honor to stand before you and share a head table with the caliber of speakers before you tonight. By the warm welcome here and the warm welcome that we get at every meeting, it is clear that our party is working and the UNC base continues to grow. Last Saturday, my colleagues at the bar, Senator Sean Sobers and Saddam Hussein and I traveled down to the Gomez Trace HDC development upon an invitation from the residents and the councillor. We were warmly welcomed by the residents of this development. and the hospitality of the people we met, despite their troubling circumstances, is something to be admired. The issues faced in this development, however, are no laughing.
Members, please stand. The leader is coming.
Leader, a warm round of applause. Friends, as I was saying, the issues faced in this HDC development are no laughing matter. As my colleague Sean was saying, the residents are facing structural issues that undermine the foundation of their homes. In many cases, the homes are not even fit for habitation. Imagine living in a home on a height. Some of the homes are on stilts or slopes, and God forbid that there's a fire. These people have no staircase. They have to dive out of their back door and roll into the grass. Imagine if there are elderly people or children. Every time the breeze blows in this development, you smell the cesspit. And to make matters worse, the residents were promised these homes at a significantly lower cost than what they were actually made to pay. They were told by HDC lawyers that should they not sign these agreements at the higher price, the houses would be reallocated. Friends, imagine waiting 15 to 20 years for a home to be told and intimidated into signing this deal. If that is not bullying and duress, I don't know what is. Now, $100,000 and $200,000 might not be much for these ministers when they collect millions of dollars in rent, but for the people of Gomez Trace, that is plenty money. Tonight, friends, I want to put the government of Trinidad and Tobago on notice. The people of this country are not for sale. You are rushing down construction projects with elections around the corner, ramming people into subpar houses with no care or concern for their safety or well-being. People are paying their hard-earned money for these houses. Give them the quality that they deserve. Brothers and sisters, so when my senior counsel and political leader learned about this issue, the team came together and had a discussion. And just like we've taken on many other public interest matters, we were happy to come down and meet with the residents of Gomez Trace. Tonight, we give the assurance that we will continue to fight for the vulnerable, fight for the downtrodden, and those who call on us for representation. Friends, recently, I ran into someone and they asked me a question. They said, Rashid, why UNC? Why choose the United National Congress? And my answer was simple. The UNC under Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar is a national party. We have a space for everyone, regardless of creed, race, religion, ethnicity, or gender. No other party in Trinidad and Tobago genuinely provides the equal opportunity for advancement as the United National Congress. Here, hard work is rewarded, and if you know our leader, we don't sleep until all the work is done. The UNC continues to work tirelessly in the Parliament to challenge the questionable legislative agenda of this PNM government. Soon in Parliament, our leader is guided to raise a motion to repeal the archaic sedition laws, similar to those used in other countries to jail journalists and other freedom fighters such as Mahatma Gandhi. Our Prime Minister has turned into an international embarrassment, attacking the United Kingdom, the BBC, and making outrageous accusations. With laws like these on the books, are we really safe? Recently, in the lower house, the party fought the invasive Freedom of Information amendments that were developed to further hide the underhanded practices of this administration. I know we have a fiery lineup of speakers tonight, and much will be said on the recent HDC cancellation of the Chinese Gezuba contract, CGGC, and how costly the blunders of this administration will be to this nation going forward. Friends, all of this was made possible. All this information came forward because of a Freedom of Information application. This is the same kind of application that the PNM tried to stifle in the Parliament. We must ask the question tonight, Dr. Rowley, what else do you have to hide? Did your Attorney General try to restrict our access to information so that these sweetheart deals and the dirty deeds of this government can remain hidden? Dr. Rowley, is that why you are repeating the PNM sins of the past and creating modern-day Calder Hearts? How many friends, family members, and financiers will continue to benefit while the people of Trinidad and Tobago suffer? How long will you continue to turn a blind eye to the incompetence of your Attorney General and your cabinet? How long you, Dr. Rowley, will continue to dodge the accountability that comes as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? So friends, when you ask me why the UNC, the answer is clear. The UNC cares, the UNC delivers, and the UNC will continue to represent you and fight for your best interests. Friends, tonight I tell you, I support the return of Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar as our Prime Minister. Friends, join with us and return good governance to Trinidad and Tobago. Friends, return the United National Congress to government. I thank you.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Rishi. Members, the political leader came. And when in my opening remarks, I told you we are at the epicenter of that party support demand. And I want you to put a loud sound of applause for our political leader. Yeah. Let me tell you something. We didn't come here by choice. Those people from the Mang, their own supporters, told the council, Michelle, when will you bring in Miss Kamla? And Miss Kamla is here tonight. In the heartland in Grandchildren and Moruga, they're begging Laura and Joseph, when will you bring in the boss lady? We're coming in Moruga soon. Wait, we coming. Yes, we coming. But better still, I talked to my partner Kingsley. He said, boss, we have to carry the lady in Beatam as well. Beatam waiting for the lady. Throughout all Trinidad, all they want is, Kamla, 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 Kamla. My brothers and sisters, the next man, he has a firebrand name, but he just really get them thunder in the Senate. His name says it all. Welcome to the podium, Senator Saddam Hussein.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Vice Chairman of the PTRC, Clifton Dikoto. Good night, honorable political leader and all other members of the head table. But most importantly, good night to the beautiful people of Moruga, Tableland. Moruga, Tableland. You have answered the call and you look beautiful here in your numbers. It shows that you are ready to return the United National Congress and Pavement Report back into government. And tonight, before we came to this meeting, we met with some residents of Moruga Tableland, some new residents of Moruga Tableland. And we came here not on any good terms, because these persons called out to the United National Congress and their councillor to render some sort of assistance to them. And I speak of the people of Home Straits, Phase 2 Moruga. There's an HDC development there that Senator Sobers and Rishi would have told you about. And tonight, when you hear the plight of those people, the honorable political leader who has always been a fighter for the poor people of this country, she came to the front and she said, we have to help the people of Pavement Report. Because during her career, she has always assisted those who needed help and who suffered injustice at the hands of the government. But that Pavement Report HDC development, that is a development that was created by the PNM in 2017. They hurried to build 70 houses, but they built it where? Not in Diego Martin, because there's a seat that's safe for them. They built it in Moruga Tableland, which is a marginal seat, because they are placing persons in those houses thinking that they will do what? Get the votes there to win the seat. But tonight we have news for the PNM. They can bring how much they want. The people are going to be voting for the UNC. We are going to win the seat. But what the PNM has done is insulted the people of Pavement Report, because they did not treat them as people. They treated them as votes. The conditions of those houses. We went and we toured those houses. When the people have to bathe in the bathroom, they have to bathe sideways, because they can't fit in the bathroom. When they wash the chicken, the water going in the sewer tank. When they bathe, the water going in the sewer tank. There's no external drainage. Sean would have told you about these things. And you know what these wicked, deceptive HDC, PNM people had to do? They promised the people the 2-bedroom houses will be sold to them for $330,000. And there's the 3-bedroom houses that will be sold to them for $420,000. Let me get that straight. So the 2-bedroom house, $330,000. When the people went to sign the agreement, agency jacked up the price by $120,000, now charging them $450,000. $450,000 for the 2-bedroom houses. 36% increase in the price. The 3-bedroom houses, from $420,000, it skyrocketed to $625,000. Some defective homes at the agency development, a 48% increase in the price of these houses. But what is interesting is that we have information that a birdie whisper that these houses are built on lands not approved for residential purpose. We challenge the HDC to present to us completion certificates for these 70 units, because these people have to get a mortgage, and without a completion certificate, well, they can't get a mortgage. So I want HDC to present the completion certificate for every one of those houses. Let them do it, because those houses, as it stands, are not on approved lands. But there was a cabinet decision, because HDC has a policy where they must provide subsidized houses for low and middle income earners. And according to the cabinet policy, a 1987 cabinet note, they charge the people $5 per square foot for the land. So let me take this and break it down. So let's assume that the lands are 5,000 square foot, which is a lot. So 5,000 by 5 will give you $25,000 for the land. We go into the 3-bedroom house. So you take away $25,000 from the $625,000, it leaves you with $600,000 for these houses. Now HDC has a duty not to sell these houses at market value. They must subsidize the houses because these are houses for poor people. But what the agency has done is that they jack up the price in order to take money out of the poor man's pocket. Because these houses are not worth $600,000 based on the defects that these houses have, based on the type of land that the houses are standing on. And all infrastructural work, building of drains, of roads, of utilities, should not be charged on the homeowners, but the state is to absorb this cost. But the HDC has not done that. So we, a team of lawyers led by the honorable political leader, will be writing to the HDC to tell them that they cannot raise the prices of these houses. Give the people the house that you promised them it's for. These are poor people that you are dealing with. These are not boats. Then, when we are told, when these people went to sign the document, when they were told that the house was $420 and it went up to $625, these people were forced into signing the agreement because the HDC officials who executed the contracts for these persons, they know what they tell these poor people who waited 18 and 20 years for a house. They tell them, boss, if you don't take this house, you're getting nothing. You're getting nothing. And this is the wicked PNM that we are dealing with. You jack up the price and force the people to sign this contract to enter for $625,000 when you should be charging the people $420,000. Look at here. Look at right here. It's in black and white. The price of the house. $420,000, not $625,000. We call on the agency tonight, and the Prime Minister, who was a former Minister of Housing, to reduce the prices of this house for the people of Gomez Trace. Because we will fight the people of Gomez Trace if we have to go to the court and force the hand of the agency and this wicked PNM government to give the people what they deserve. And tonight, I am so happy to be part of that team together with the honorable political leader and Senator Sobers and also Rishi. But have no fear, the people will get justice of this country. And not only the people of Gomez Trace, but all the people of Moruga Tableland and all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. All it has to do is the power is in your finger that we are ready to elect a UNC government with Kamala Prasad and our Prime Minister. I thank you very much.
You understand why they say Moruga Tableland is a marginal constituency. I reminded you all, 2015, 27,913 persons came and voted. They got 10,808. We got 10,225. But I'm putting it to you, as Saddam said, come the next general election, they're going to get licks. Because we have the battery of lawyers led by our visionary leader, Kamala Prasad, looking at the padding and how they padding. So let them pad. We're going to beat them by about 2,000 plus votes in this marginal. My brothers and sisters, a man of class, a man who come from the same kind of American six-company village, a man who recently had to say, hey, Pip, I call him the man Pepe. You know when I say Pip, what I'm talking about? I'm calling Pip the father of lies and liars. I christened him so tonight. Bellman, did you ring the bell for that? You know the boss lady used to put up a thing here lie? I am saying Leader Pip. And there's part of Charles Dickens' book, Pip and the Convict. We don't know who is the convict. I'm here going there. I know courthouse goes. But Leader Pip, the father of lies and liars. But I said, this man has class. He wrote, he said, hey, Pip, don't embarrass yourself. Don't try to get in war with the BBC. This man is sleeping protocol. I want to invite a former ambassador Member of Parliament for Naparima, Rodney Charles.
Political leader of the party, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisasa, visiting MPs from the lower and the upper house, chairman and councillors of the Princeton Regional Corporation, and I see from other corporations, brothers and sisters, foot soldiers of the United National Congress. I want to tell you tonight, welcome to the pavement in Moruga. This is not Parliament with Standing Order 48-4 and the Speaker telling Naparima, sit down, Princeton, take a walk. This is the pavement where we talk the issues live and direct. We ready for war? We're ready to fight. We are soldiers of war. You will recall that in 2015, I said that the PNM had no plan. 4 years later, it is clear that Keith Rowley, Paris Alwari, Stuart Young, and Colman Burt have no plan to take us forward. Nothing whatsoever. So today, the PNM has a plan. Hear the plan. To distract us from their failure to diversify the economy, to create thousands of well-paying jobs, to reduce the murder rate, or to increase our foreign exchange earnings. So they come up with dotishness like yard fowl, and our political leader must explain to the PNM some dotishness. I say, and we say to the political leader, hey, you have nothing to say to them. Until Keith Rowley apologizes for the lie that he said on Emailgate, he has to apologize to the political leader, or she has nothing to tell them, nothing at all. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about our foreign policy. Our foreign policy simply is to cost everybody in sight. We have a badge-on prime minister. So first he costs the US ambassador. I take umbrage to what the US ambassador said. That was after he cussed up the Secretary General of the OAS, Louis Amalgro. And now is the turn to cost the British government. All the while, he dancing with the bestie Baduro in a Congo line. So when our political leader was prime minister, everybody beaten apart to come to Trinidad. Xi Jinping, the second most powerful man in the world, months after he was made president, he came to Trinidad. And when he came, Vice President Biden begged for blind. So we had him here, and we had others. So while people were coming to, Mohammed was coming to the mountain, right now we cussing everybody in sight. Imagine Keith Rowley. And you know how they like to say it? Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. And I will say very quietly, the liar. Accusing the British government of sending coded messages via the BBC to disrupt world peace in general and good Keith Rowley governance in Trinidad and Tobago in particular. I would not be surprised if he has already sent by registered mail a letter to Her Majesty. Stressing that if his concerns were not met, he would impose trade sanctions on the UK and or leave the Commonwealth. The man is a joke. Brothers and sisters, I would not be surprised if our Coast Guard were on full alert in preparation for an invasion of the United Kingdom. The way he gets to know it, he feel he's a big fool. A yard foul. But he know that cockroach have no business in foul business. So my brothers and sisters, when our Coast Guard move into the River Thames and we capture the United Kingdom, we will save them from the challenges of Brexit and welcome them into the caring arms of Keith Rowley and Stuart Young and the rest of them. We will make the 64 million Britons register to work for 1 year in Trinidad and Tobago, as we did with our Venezuelan colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a joke. It is a joke. And we could go why we do not have a mission in Georgetown, Guyana, which is about to be the energy capital of the CARICOM. We not there. We seeing about everybody business and cussing. But I want to address one little issue before I go. By now, we have all heard of the cancellation of the now infamous HDC $485 million sweetheart deal with the Chinese. All you heard about that? The PNM PR house has been working overtime trying to spin this fiasco and divert blame and accountability from the Prime Minister and the Attorney General, and brush this off in the words of the Attorney General. Hear what he said: a storm in a teacup, and nothing to lose sleep over. $485 million of your taxpayers' dollars and my taxpayer dollars, and he saying no problem. Is that you know I don't like the Attorney General. He's a zessa. He's a zessa. But for him to say 485 million is nothing to worry about, tell me that he deserves not to be the next MP for San Fernando West in the next generation. So while contractors in Trinidad catching the nenen to get paid, to get money for work they did already, those wicked fellas sat down and give everything by signing a Duncy head contract. There's no way to call it that. There's a school. By the way, this school was opened, as built, one of the 106 schools that was built We don't talk, we don't zest, we don't distract, we perform. Do it? We perform. So hear what? The HDC agreed to pay upfront, even before a single nail was driven, 100% of the contract price within 28 days of signing, and to convert 60% of the $485 million to precious US dollars. Citizens, we have to line up a whole day to get 200 US. Not so. We had to line up and humble ourselves for $200. They're giving 60% of the $485 million within 28 days of signing the contract. That is wickedness. Instead of local labor, 600 Chinese workers were to be employed in the project, and we were to give them work permits and temporary housing and 5 acres of land within 5 kilometers of the building site. So hear this, 5,000 workers sent home from Petrotrin, and we making room for 600 workers from faraway China. Wickedness. Hear more. The HDC shall, and I'm quoting, at its cost, provide sufficient security for contractors' personnel and property. During the project, at least one patrol car with 2 armed police shall be arranged for each side 24 hours per day. What is it? We can't go home. We have to duck thief and bandit, right? And they're providing 24-hour security for the Chinese. Not that we have anything against Chinese. Dr. Lee, nothing against the Chinese. We embrace our local Chinese. But we see Dr. Lee before we see those who just reach. Now, the contract, in addition, we had to absolve them from paying customs or import duties and other fees and give them every exemption possible out of HDC resources. No wonder no one in this clueless administration wants to be identified with these indefensible giveaways. Everybody ducking and making excuses. Everybody. Here, Alwari, when pressed by the Guardian to outline the discrepancies in the contract, here, Alwari, the Zessa, I have not been advised on the contract. I have not seen the contract. The AG was not required to advise on the contract. I'm a stranger to all of that. All you believe that? I didn't say it. All you said it. All you know, they have Sedition Act. All you know, they're going to lock up. Right. He further said, I don't think this is anything to lose sleep over, because ultimately it comes down to whether we had the best deal on the table. $485 million. And that man telling me nothing to sleep over. If we take the AG at his word, which I find hard to do because he's an expert at twisting the facts, it raises the more important matter of why the AG did not review the $485 million contract between a government agency and a foreign company. He recused. You cannot sign away $485 million and play Pontius Pilate. Can't. You know something? There used to be, the older people in the crowd here will know a Hogan's Hero. Do you remember that? Hogan's Hero, they had a fella called Sergeant Hans Schultz. And he was a German officer in charge of Stalag 13, a prisoner of war camp. Whatever happened in the camp, Sergeant Schultz would say, I hear nothing, I know nothing, I see nothing. So we have Dr. Keith Rowley, and I call him Generalissimo Hans Schultz. He said, I hear nothing. That is it, I hear nothing. We have Faris Alwari saying, I see nothing. And the finance manager saying something to the effect, don't ask me. So who was about to give away our hard-earned $485 million? If the big fish don't want to accept paternity, and you know in the PNM they have a problem with DNA tests and paternity. Children just appear all over the place. In fact, we might have some of the children inside here. But I hope they vote for the UNC. If it's not the big fish, then it's the board. Is it Newman George? Or Brent Lyons? Those are board members. Or Preston McQuilkin? Or Vaughan Rondon? Or Kimberly Mulligan? Or Dominic Devenish? Oh, we need to know. This is our money. And it seems as if the PNM washing their hands and they want to set up somebody. Last Friday in Parliament, at question time, I asked whether any due diligence by the Office of the Attorney General was undertaken prior to signing of the framework agreement. And Colm Mbut, who was acting for the Prime Minister, responded, quote, I am advised that the framework agreement did not require the Attorney General to give an opinion on the contract. And the HDC is a statutory authority which has its own rules according to statute. And the HDC does not have the authority to determine its own contractual arrangement. So here what? Ladies and gentlemen, we have another Petrotrin again, where they give away 850 million US, Malcolm Jones, remember? And 5,000 workers at home today because Malcolm Jones entered into a crazy contract. So we need to find out. It gets a little worse. You need to know this. There is a clause in the contract that states that if the employer terminates the contract, right, he cannot execute works himself or arrange for works to be executed by another contractor. Rowley said, hear how they fool us. Rowley said, Cabinet has given instructions that the contract could go out for tender. And the contract, the signed with the Chinese, say if you terminate the contract, you have to stop the work. So this is the problem we face. The contract is disgusting. Why contractors are still waiting for their money for the 95% complete reform, and forgive me for talking a little bit about my constituency, the 95% complete reform, Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha Primary School, these contractors get everything. So we are left with nothing. No jobs, no contracts to supply materials, no contracts for transportation sites, no housing units, no stimulation of the economy. Children, we are in trouble. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a choice in Maruga Tableland, the epicenter of the war. Shall we allow the PNM to misgovern this country for 5 more years? Shall we do all in our power to support the leader to victory in Maruga Tableland and in Trinidad and Tobago? Yes. And do we pledge tonight by a show of hands to do all in our power? Let me see your hands. All in our power. All in our power to give us victory. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
All in stature, but he bad like crap with razor blade Gandhi. The man has a combination of Maruga, Scorpion, and all the 7-pot pepper you could find. Oh Lord. I think you go in the Guinness Book of Record. MP for Princestown. Well, this time we are saying, MP for Princestown, take a walk. We are saying, MP for Princestown, come to the podium.
The Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the best Prime Minister this country has ever seen, and soon to return with your help and your support to be the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago once more. My parliamentary colleagues, both
in the upper and the lower house, members of the National Executive, councillors, chairman of the Princestown Regional Corporation and the chairman of the Princestown Constituency Executive, who has been very instrumental in assisting in putting together this meeting this evening, Councillor Gaurav Rupnarayan and other members of council, brothers and sisters all. Well, I thought I alone used to eat scorpion pepper. Are we in the constituency of Maruga Tableland? The battleground constituency, the most battleground of them all. But after hearing Senator Saddam Hussein and then the fiery Rodney Charles, it seems like I get a little company in eating some scorpion pepper right here tonight in Maruga Tableland. Brothers and sisters, this evening, the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago is in retreat. After 4 years of dismal failure, the Prime Minister decides to hold a retreat. Today, we want to say to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, they should not retreat, they should resurrender. Brothers and sisters, over the past few days, the Prime Minister is engaged in distraction after distraction after distraction. You know, in local parlance, we say, when a man come and give you a story like that about yard fowl, you call it a cock and bull story. But in Rowley case, that is a cock and raging bull story. Brothers and sisters, in a feeble effort to throw the heat and national attention from the biggest corruption issue to hit the housing sector in this country, the chickens are coming home to roost. And I can assure you, those chickens do not have pip. Brothers and sisters, we will expose the corruption in the HDC saga involving the Prime Minister, the lackey, the caddy boy, Stuart Young, and the not-so-new man on the scene. You see, brothers and sisters, I understand why the Prime Minister has a preoccupation with anything to do with yard, whether it's foul or otherwise. Let us not forget that this is the same man whose tenure as Minister of Housing saw gravel by the yard moving in Scarborough Hospital, sand by the yard moving from Scarborough Hospital. So when the man have the preoccupation with yard, you understand why. Brothers and sisters, you know, in local parlance we say you can't put cat to watch butter. I want you to throw your minds back. Just 1 year ago, Prime Minister Keith Rowley goes to China. May 18th, 2018. Prime Minister Rowley goes to China with Stuart Young, Minister Dennis Moses and others. Today I looked up on the Prime Minister's website, and on the website it says who the Prime Minister went with 1 year ago. When you go on the Prime Minister's website, you get a list of all the dignitaries that the Prime Minister would have met with when he visited China. But it also tells you all the companies he met with when he went to China. I want you to follow, and I want you to follow carefully, because tonight I want you to connect the dots. Brothers and sisters, when the Prime Minister went to China, the series of companies that he met were the following. You see, he met a company called China Railway Construction. He met a company called China Communication Construction. He met a company called China Jesview Construction. Brothers and sisters, fast forward. July 18th, 2018, the Prime Minister, then serving as Minister of Housing, in addition to his portfolio as Prime Minister, oversees the signing of a contract awarded to Jesview Construction, who he met just months ago when he visited China. You're following me? This contract was sole select, meaning they handpicked who they wanted to give this contract to. Tonight I want to ask the Prime Minister, when you visited China, did you have dinner with the President and Executive of Jesview Construction? I want to ask the Prime Minister, did you play golf in China with the executives of China Jesview Construction? Because you see, they say call name and you will whistle. We have name, and the leader tells you we have court closed. Brothers and sisters, follow the story and connect the dots. May 2018, Prime Minister goes to China, meets with these contractors. Prime Minister, then Minister of Housing. In July, the contract is sole selected and given to this company. May 2019, the announcement is made that a framework agreement had gone to the cabinet and met cabinet's approval. Now here's how they play smart with foolishness. The cabinet oversees and approves the framework. They then come and tell you, well, the framework really had no legal basis, but it required cabinet approval. So if the contract did not require cabinet scrutiny, then why is send the framework agreement to the cabinet? You hear how they play smart with foolishness? But brothers and sisters, the story does not end there. The story does not end there. In a short space of time from May 2019, so I told you what happened in May of 2018. Prime Minister goes to China. I tell you what happened in July 2019. He oversees as Minister in the Ministry of Housing the contract. I then tell you fast forward May 2019. Framework agreement signed. Announcement made. June 2019, after the announcement, the JCC files a Freedom of Information Act. Through the Freedom of Information Act, the JCC makes an application. The JCC makes an application to find out what were the terms and conditions of that contract. The JCC filed the FOI so we would know what they sold our country's patrimony for. The largest housing contract in this country's history, $0.5 billion. We didn't know what were the terms and conditions. I want you to put and connect the dots. Remember when we had the same situation with Sandals? We didn't know what were the terms and conditions of the Sandals contract until persons filed the FOI and they were forced by law to reveal what were the terms and conditions. History is repeating itself all over again. But brothers and sisters, I told you, you can't put cat to watch butter. Prime Minister was the Minister of Housing in July of 2018. I want to share some information about this Jesview company, China Jesview Construction. You see, when you go on the World Bank website, in the black and white, China Jesview Group Company Limited was listed by the World Bank for two things: fraudulent practices and corruption. Let us turn to the issue of corruption. And I'm asking these questions tonight because the Prime Minister must answer. Rodney told you what the contract entailed. It entailed 600 workers, Chinese, coming from China. So therefore the locals would have had no work. It required that over $1.1 million would be charged to persons who are applying for these HGC houses. And Saddam told you that these houses were supposed to be low-income houses. Then how did Jesview Construction get this contract that the Prime Minister met this contract in May of 2018, becomes Minister of Housing in July 2018. They then get the contract, they sign the framework in May 2019. Fast forward to July 2019 when the JCC files to get the terms and conditions. So you understand the timeline. I want to share with you, as I've told you, Jesview Construction. Sole select. Who sole selected Jesview Construction? I want to spend some time pointing out to you a history and a pattern, and I will share with you tonight. You see, any one of you can go on the website of the Himalayan Times. It is one of the national newspapers of the country of Nepal. Brothers and sisters, Kathmandu, May 31st. And this is what it reads. This is in Nepal, about the same company that was hand-selected that the Prime Minister's website said that he met with in May 2018. This is what they have to say about the same Jesview company that has been sole selected, given these special terms and conditions to build houses in Trinidad. And I quote from the Himalayan Times. The government's decision to award a contract for 1,200 megawatt storage project to China Jesview Group Corporation without any competitive bidding has raised quite a few eyebrows, even as the representatives of the company in Nepal try to dismiss the concerns as government-to-government level understanding between the two countries. Do you see the first similarity between Nepal and Trinidad and Tobago? Yes? You understand it? The article goes on to say, while the project development agreement is yet to be inked, the cabinet meeting of Pushpa Kamal Dahal-led government had decided on May 23rd to hand over the construction contract of project to CGGC, China Jesview Group of Companies. Same company awarded this contract in Trinidad, same company in Nepal. This is what the article goes on to say. So second similarity, you see it? To be developed under engineering, procurement, construction and finance modeling, the government is planning to entrust a crucial project to CGGC, whose subsidiaries has been blacklisted by the World Bank on May 29, 2015. The World Bank's move was based on acknowledgement of misconduct by these entities in the World Bank funded projects in China in relation to big projects. This meant that the company and its subsidiaries were ineligible to participate in any contract of the World Bank for 18 months. So the CGGC that the Prime Minister met with in May 2018, a sole select contract awarded to right here in Trinidad, in Nepal admits to crooked deals, crooked practices and corruption in Nepal. Let us go on. The article says it has to be noted that CGGC is involved in developing the 30 megawatt project and has faced immense criticism time and again for inflating the cost of the project by citing various excuses and political interference. So what they are telling you is that this company has a history of inflating the cost of the contract to give political favors. And tonight we ask the Prime Minister, when you met with Jesview Construction in May 2018 and the allegations that you had dinner with and the allegations that you played golf with the executives of Jesview Construction, was it supposed to be a kickback for the general election in 2020 from Jesview Construction to the People's National Movement? And those are the questions we ask tonight. We ask those questions and we lay those questions solely at the feet of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister tells us Newman George is not to blame. Then who is to blame? You see, when Kamala Bissessa was Prime Minister, she told us the buck stops with the Prime Minister, and she took ownership. She took ownership for whatever issues was raised in the public domain. Brothers and sisters, it gets interestinger and interestinger. I'm going to coin that phrase tonight. You see, this same company, CGGC, is accused of the following. Now we know they like fake oil here in Trinidad. We know they like fake news here in Trinidad. But hear what this company was alleged to be doing in Nepal. The article says, besides a case related to the company about tax evasion over fake VAT bills of over billions of rupees, even though it is sub judice before the Revenue Tribunal office. So, again, you see the pattern. We know this government like fake oil. We know they like fake news. They went and they find a contractor, Soul Select, who has allegations of fake VAT bills in the amount of millions of dollars over what? Tax evasion. And this is a company that they have sole selected to give the largest housing contract in Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, another similarity, the article says, but there are lingering doubts about CGGC capability to complete a project of this scale. Its past record of abrogation of the contract after it completed only 10% of the work. So brothers and sisters, I have outlined to you the similarities, the timeline. I want you to connect the dots. Understand what took place when the Prime Minister went to China in May of 2018 and how we arrived at Jesview group of companies here in Trinidad and Tobago. So the Prime Minister has some questions to answer, brothers and sisters. You see, they can run, but they cannot hide. Brothers and sisters, I know that you have a few powerful speakers yet to come. But you have seen the pattern over the past few days. They started off by blaming Kamala. Then they went to blaming the police. Then they blamed teachers. Then they blamed public servants. Then they blamed BBC. Well, boss, I have something to tell you tonight. Huh? You see, they blame everybody, and the last stop is the BBC. But I have a feeling that after the BBC, they're going back to the BBK. The BBK. From the BBC, they're going back to the BBK, I tell you. Back to blaming Kamala. Back to blaming Kamala. So that is strategy 1, strategy 2, strategy 3, all the strategies of the PNM. Brothers and sisters, we have spent some time this evening trying to connect the dots so you have a fair idea of what is happening in this country. I want to tell you something. Many of you, sometimes our own people, they tend to get weak. Would you have known? Would you have known? And these are the questions you must ask yourselves. Would you have known about the largest scandal in this country's history as it relates to the oil and gas scandal had it not been for Kamala Bissessa? Would you have known about $100 million in fake oil? I ask you, would you have known the $123 million going to Faris Al-Rawi? So I ask you this evening, as we continue to roll out the scandals and the corruption of this government, stand strong, stay brave, and support your party and your leader as we go forward. Surely as night follows day, the sun will rise again. I thank you.
Together for Pavement, Barry Park. Members, again, it would be remiss of me if I don't take this opportunity quickly and recognize the wind beneath our political leaders' wing. Our supportive husband, Dr. Bisesa. If you hear she does boast about Greg, I reach home 2 o'clock, Greg waiting. I reach home 4 o'clock, Greg waiting. Think about it. My brothers and sisters, the next speaker, oh Lord, every morning and sometimes on evening, and when she is satisfied with walking up Chancellor Hill, 2 miles a walk, she goes and make a lap around the savannah. I can't call she the Energizer Bunny because she is young for Bunny, but she is the Energizer Rabbit. The best compliment I would have heard about this lady, I hope the political leader vexed me for this, but one night during screening, her name came up. The political leader said, you see that woman? She bright for all of we here. She brighter than all of we here put together. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to welcome Jolene John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The political leader never told me that. When I'm getting carried away, she will say, Jolene, be nice. That's all she tells me. Be nice. So, honorable political leader, MPs Charles and Padarat, Senator Saddam and Sobers, Councillor Michelle Benjamin, Mr. Rishi Tripathi, Attorney at Law. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. It is good, well, we are running a little late, so I am not going to be too long, I hope, because our political leader has to come on and we need to hear what she has to say. But it is good to be in Moruga Tableland. I always feel so good in Moruga. I'm always welcome here, and I'm really happy, and thank you, Moruga. But this evening, prior to coming to the pavement, with the political leader and the honorable colleagues, we were in, and of course, Councillor Michelle Benjamin was doing a great job with Randy Ramprasad Singh, is he here? Ramada Singh, sorry. You know, they've been doing a great job, Dr. Karleen Suku, etc. We went to Gomez Trace Phase 2, and I thought that by this time, I would never have had to see people who would have saved their money and invested, made their biggest investment they would have made in this life, you know, and be crying at this time of the night. Because the dream has become a nightmare, and that is not a hyperbole. Because when the People's Partnership came into office, we went to a lot of these sites, whether in Harmony Hall in Gasparillo or Richmond or Castlefield, Las Alturas, Currant Hills. And what they were doing? They were building thousands of houses across Trinidad and Tobago. And then they will give out about 50 within this huge, vast, sprawling housing community. And of that 50, when the people go to use their toilets and flush it, what flushed? The human waste flushed into the drains because they had no wastewater plant. They had no amenities at all. And we spent years, at least across 3 boards in my case, 3 chairmen, trying to correct this. So when you see, for instance, this thing happening with the PNM government of the day, giving out 5,000 houses without tender, that is nothing new. That is what they had done from the year 2000 to the year 2008 or thereabouts. And as a matter of fact, over 3 chairmen I spent, because when they would bring these files to me, and contractors were looking for payment, I will ask, what is my authority to pay? Because it appears that the managing director that preceded me, and now the one that succeeded me, they are more powerful managing directors than I will ever be. So I will ask them, what is my authority to pay on this file? Because you look at it, and the contract would have been way outside the budget. Because when you have a contract, you had to go to the board to approve that budget. And by that time, they would have paid exceeding the budget. Without, the contract would have been executed without tender one. So that's a norm within this group of people. And then they would have paid outside of the board's approval. So I spent over the term of 3 boards going to these boards, not for approval, but in the first case for ratification. And we had hundreds of files. And we ratified in the amount of $2.2 billion, not millions of dollars, which were paid over and above what had been approved by the board. So I tell Trinidad and Tobago, don't worry, be happy. That is normal. So when Rowley, what's his name, Keith Christopher Rowley turned up as the Prime Minister and Noel Garcia ended up as chairman of UDICOT, all that happens is that the boys are back in town. It's the same thing all over again. They're just there to do whatever, to continue what they had done before. I don't want to go into all of this, and everybody have been talking about this China contract, and of course we must all have it on the front burner because these folks gave out, and the MP went into great detail about it, and MP Rodney Charles, 5,000 housing units. At a time when we had no work, at a time when the economy has stalled, and there is nothing like construction to pick an economy up, and where everybody will benefit. But these folks just gave it out. Now when they were caught in flagrante delicto, with their pants down, the Prime Minister jumped up and he said, I'm going to cancel and they have to retender. How can you retender what was never tendered? And the media must ask him this question. You see, Rowley shouldn't be on a retreat tonight. We in Maruga. Rowley should be getting a bush bath from Papa Nisa and Mother Corner. Something wrong with Rowley. You can't tell me you're coming with this kind of foolishness. We are not stupid. We're going on retender. It was never tendered. We know that 2 hustlers left Trinidad and Tobago first class. We paid for that. And they ended up in China. And then people had to write out the whole list of contractors they met with when they went there and they played golf. I remembered when our Prime Minister was going to China, our Prime Minister, Kamla Prasad Bisesa. When we were in Beijing, you knew a Prime Minister was in the city. Trinidad and Tobago flags were up all over the square. I mean, my heart almost burst out of my chest because I said, my Prime Minister is in this city, in Big China, and it was recognized. You know, she met with the President of China. We were, well, I mean, I was a little nobody in the third row, but I'll make it sound good. You understand? Yeah. I mean, that was the level of people who went there. You understand? Our Prime Minister was in the city, and she was recognized. She was no hustler. Can you imagine if Kamla had gone to China and give away 5,000 housing units without tender, and then decide, just because I can, let me go to Australia and buy 2 boats at twice the price. All now, tourists would have been coming to Trinidad, to Woodford Square, to see where they lynched the first female Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Right? She would not have escaped that. But these fellas gone, and they did their thing. And then the Prime Minister saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, he says he's the biggest black man. It doesn't matter. Hakuna Matata. Don't worry. Be happy. You know, and then we know now. You know, guys. That is Swahili. Don't dig no blues. You know, Hakuna Matata. Don't worry yourself. Everything is okay. It's me, Rowley, the clean hand man. You know, and if I give away, and those 5,000 houses, friend, don't get fooled, you know. That would have been about $10 billion. What they had started was just the first scoop. And they decided to take the thing up front, and they were caught. And we have to say, thank God for the freedom of information. You see now why they wanted to get that law off the books? Because I was wondering. One morning I watching the papers, you know, and I have a thing with a guy who helped me to pump gas in Miaro when I'm going down. And I'll ask on the front page of the papers, and if you see Rowley, I say me I pay no money for that. I don't buy papers when Rowley on it. So he didn't tell me Rowley, but it was Newman George, which was just as bad. And Newman George on the front of the papers, whining low. I tell you, the news they say, how low can he go? You understand? That was the caption. And man, I remember when I was at the HEC, we used to be in the front page too, but we were there handing out keys to the poor, to the disabled. firemen, to policemen. That was the only reason. So it's only now we know why Newman was winding down low. You know, because things was happening. And then you had Rowley 2 weeks ago inside of the Hyatt. You know, things so good. He care if we have no drugs in the hospital because he going, hey, puck away. Prime Minister, you know, something. You understand? He have it so good, things so nice. You understand? He care that it are no teachers in the school, no doctors in the hospital because it's... That's the boy. You understand? He having a time, right? Puck away, Trinidad. You puck away. You understand? Yeah. Hey, you just puck away. Puck away. You just puck away. You understand? Because my business fixed. My business nice. I don't care about you. I in my mansion and I looking over the savannah and I don't care if the view I seen is the hospital over there and it are no drugs. People lying down there for 3 days. You know, because we gonna say what? DJ? Hey, back away, don't back away. You understand? So we have a prime minister there. He goes to the media, have a press conference, and then he treating the media as if they storm the thing, you know, because he behaving as a Trump knockoff. He feels he's still in China. So we have a cheap Trump and made in China Trump. You understand? Right? That is what we have, you know. Yeah, cheap Trump and knock off. Buffing everybody, cussing everybody. Yes. So if they give away the thing, they are caught. He pull out his friend, he said not his friend. What I want to ask is who? Right? It must be, somebody must be held accountable for this. Because you have this man from the former president of the Contractors Association, one Mikey Joseph. Because one thing with him, he has a lot of people who supports him in his foolishness, you know. Mikey Joseph did not complain when he heard they gave away 5,000 houses and no contractor in Trinidad they working. He didn't complain when they were being paid up front. When they are not paying contractors, they have to go to the High Court to get their money. He ain't complaining about that. But as soon as he hear we talk to Prince about going and tender something that wasn't tender, he and all get confused and talking. I'm here listening to the news. Thank you, Prime Minister. I said tonight, thank you nothing. And Mikey Joseph shut his mouth. A foolish man. Thank you for nothing. Right, and then the last thing I want to ask here, or speak about, is the age of the Attorney General. Now, I recall at Unicourt, we did several of those government to government, and in scrutinizing, even at a cursory glance, their framework agreement. That framework agreement, we could not, as Unicourt, have signed any framework agreement without one Attorney General named Anand Ram Logan thoroughly scrutinizing this. Now they're hunting down Anand Ram Logan. I tell Alwari and Rowley, when they see Anand Ram Logan, bow down. Go and learn something. They better bow down when they see Anand Ram Logan. Because you couldn't sign nothing and commit the government of Trinidad and Tobago without Anand Ram Logan did not scrutinize that. So we signed no framework agreement without the intervention of the Attorney General. You have your cabinet approval, and then the Attorney General would have scrutinized the framework agreement. So I don't know what he's talking about. So there he is on George Street, leaning up like Gina and Dinah, and saying, no, it wasn't me. You understand? It wasn't me, it was a hologram. It wasn't me. He didn't know anything that went on there. All of them, very foolish, but as I said before, they were caught in flagrante delicto, and we must not allow them to forget. This is not a joke, this is a serious matter. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I want to leave you now. I want to thank you very much for Maruga. Don't get carried away with the people and them and the foul talk. This man talking about foul in his foul mouth. Right? We don't want to hear him. We don't care about that. We want him to explain. We want him to find his own tongue and explain about this Chinese contract. That is all we want to hear about. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much.
You know something? That's something so good. You know, one of the election, Tiger and them buy some right? And Samuel Kupala used to do that. But I think a good thing now when they come into you, I wouldn't say that part, but I remember in parties exactly what we used to say. Ladies and gentlemen, 2015, they probably was playing a tune like that for we. It grieved my heart. The night of the election, I see some fellas jumping up on the picture, jumping up. And I watched them and I wanted to say, hey, 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 because I mind them, I feed them. And up to now, I outed and I still have to feed them and mind them. But it's all right. The Lord bless me to be like that. But I did that because of the opportunity given to me by the next Prime Minister of India. I did that, I wanted to hear, because I make no apology for saying it. I was in the last party, and if I remain there, the opportunity given to me, and I'm saying to all my brothers and sisters, come in the UNC, because we'll be able to maximize your ability. We'll give you that chance. I want you to welcome the next Prime Minister of Trinidad.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dikuto. Thank you so much. My colleagues at the head table, my colleagues in the audience, friends and family all. I want to assure you, I do not have any PIP, but I do have a bit of a flu virus, a common cold flu virus. So I'm very happy I could join you for some time tonight, and I want to congratulate our coordinators in Maruga Tableland, Bradley Singh and Dr. Carleen, and I also want to congratulate the councillors in the area, and especially Michelle Benjamin, thank you so much, Joseph Laura, Chairman of the Hindustan Corporation, Rafi Mohammed, and the entire team from that corporation. Thank you all for the work that you've been doing in this area and in the region as a whole. As others have told you earlier this evening, we met with the residents of Gomez Trace, right here in this constituency. And they have described to you the heartbreaking circumstances there in Gomez Trace. So since I came, we had made this plan to meet with them. It was very easy then to come to join you here tonight for my first appearance on the Pavement Report. Senator Saddam, Rishi, and Senator Sobers all explained what is happening there. They really fooled the residents, offering them homes at one price, and then the day to sign the documents, they raised the price up, as Saddam explained. Then when they got the homes are so defective, they don't even have a back step. That's what I tell you, they don't have a back step. You can imagine if there's a fire, what's going to happen? It happened before. I remember going to jail in John up in Schumacher, where apartments built by the PNM under the HDC, there was a fire, children died in it because there were no exits. These fellows would learn. They come back again and they rush in a hurry to vote a part in this constituency. They build those houses in a rush. They have fire traps. And on top of that, they are total flood road, all green veil all over again. So these residents, their walls are cracking, their homes are flooding, yeah? And on top of that, fire hazard. And on top of that, when you see those houses for $625,000, when you leave it, you take a drive. You will not believe a house of that quality to be worth $625,000. Indeed, Senator Sobers has agreed that he will pay a valuator, the send an evaluator, so that you can see what is the value of those houses. They have been overpriced, and in addition, a according to Saddam's analysis, that they are in breach of the policy of the government in terms of they cannot sell at market price, they have to sell retail. So these are some of the matters we'll take up in terms of a court matter for the residents of Gomez Street. And we come back now to that Chinese contract. Several others have spoken. That's not a HSC matter. This is a contract document. We have a copy, you guys have studied it. We've all paid attention. This is a contract document. What I find very interesting is that the framework agreement, which was signed about a year ago, is part of this document. And the wording of the framework agreement is almost an analog of the contract document. Of course, there's more in the contract document. So in other words, in the framework agreement of 1 year ago, what the cabinet saw and approved in that document, some of that is identical to the document signed, where was it? May this year. But yet everybody running fast to say, it wasn't me. I saw the agency, it wasn't me. Yeah? Minister of Finance wasn't me. Rowley wasn't me. So who the hell was it? If it was not the Minister of Housing at the time, and who was the Minister? Keith Christopher Rowley. It wasn't the AG, wasn't the Minister of Finance. Where did this come from? But you see, when you see, I think they're on a kind of, it's called a Kamala, some kind of syndrome. Huh? When you kind of reach a space, I know this government is incompetent, we say it every day. But no, I'm getting really, really worried when we hear the incoherent rant of the Prime Minister as to what is happening and who is in charge of this country, who is running the treasury, running the country. When this man sitting down and watching BBC TV, and what he's seeing? Code. Everybody else watching TV and enjoying life. He watching BBC TV and then says that the United Kingdom government is sending coded messages through the TV. You have to wonder. You already have to wonder if this is a man in charge of our country. But so be it. Some say those are the distractions and whatever, and don't get caught up in the distractions. So there are two ways of looking at all of this. One is to say that he is deliberately creating distractions. And the other option is to say, well, look, that's just what Manning warned us about. He's just behaving true to form. He just can't help himself. He's just a disgusting human being when he stands to speak. So instead of answering about the Chinese contract, wasn't me, he says, and what does it matter? The others have mentioned to you. Barry told the other story last year, he and his friend, Xiao Jiang, traveled to China, meet these same officials from the same Chinese company, signed a framework agreement approved by the cabinet before they went. Because that's how I remember it. When we were in the cabinet before we traveled, these agreements would be brought to the cabinet. Because you were in that cabinet. It would be brought to the cabinet. There was no way anybody could fly off to China and sign anything. First to the cabinet, and then the contract had to be vetted by the Office of the Attorney General. Nobody signed nothing. A contract of $500 million, AG say wasn't me. I never saw it. And yes, you see him line up with the 4 others. 5 ministers line up, grinning from ear to ear, when the signing took place, but they never saw it. You hear that? You hear that? And they feel they can continue to govern through lies, through fake news, through all kinds of bird-brained conspiracies. That's how they think they can fool the people of this land. So they went off to China. Then they went on a shopping spree. You go off to China, you say, okay, come, 5,000 housing units. They go down to Australia, 2 boats, more than the price of the boats themselves, shopping spree. And all of this, remember, without any tendering process. So select tendering is you handpick. You say you come and build 5,000. You say you sell me 2 votes. So select handpick tendering. In this day and age and up to today, they will not fully proclaim the procurement legislation. They will not do it. I promise you, within the first 30 days of forming the next government, we will fully proclaim the procurement. And so, they signed the agreement. He comes now, contract cancelled, and nothing is wrong with it. We have the copy of the contract, and I will just quickly see what and tell you what they were doing in that contract. And don't tell me nobody in this country will believe that they did not know what they were giving away. So they had, first of all, and you must remember, when they almost sell away Tobago to Sandals, and when they get catch, as Julian puts it, then they cancel that one. Same thing happened here. That contract then, let us see what they were giving away. They were giving away tax exemptions and permits. The contract price shall exclude value-added tax on imports, custom, import duties, individual income tax for foreign staff, and other fees whilst this contract is in effect. And then they shall be eligible for taxation relief under the Income Tax Act. The exemption is not approved by any authorities. All the above noted taxes, duties, etc. shall be reimbursed to the company. So the authorities did not agree to extend it. Hello, government going to give it back to them. The HEC, with the assistance of the China company, will get all the permits, the tax exemptions and so on. Permit, license and agreements that they would get. Tax exemptions, permits for export of contractors' equipment, obtaining visas and work permits, obtaining permits for water, power and other services. VAT on the contract price will be refunded by the employer. And who is the employer? HTC. Who is the employer? You, the taxpayer. VAT will be given back to the Chinese contract. Corporate taxes will be refunded to the Chinese contract. Contract prices excluding VAT. They'll have corporation for financing. Employer, meaning you, meaning HTC, will give a feasibility study and certificate of clearance to Chinese company. Security, well, this is this one. In a country where the murder rate cannot come down, keeps climbing, when no one is safe and the government has not a care for your life or your limb, listen what they're going to give. What they were going to give to this Chinese company. With every site, the employer, that's who? You, taxpayer, the government. The employer at his own cost shall provide sufficient security for the contractor's personnel and property. Yeah. So you know what? You will not pay for security. During execution of a project, at least one patrol car with 2 officers shall be made available 24 hours at the expense of whom? You, the taxpayer. That was in that contract. The police service is under-resourced. But he agrees to give 24/7 police protection for the contractors and their workers. That's what's happening with us. Our sons and our daughters, our sisters and brothers, mothers and fathers are being gunned down in bright daylight. This is what Rowley promised to these people, signed on. Advance payments as an interest-free loan for mobilization and design. The employer, new government, shall make an advance payment. It shall be 10% of the contract price stated in the contract agreement. Advance payment. My question, was that advance payment made? And will we get back that advance payment? Or is it that money is lost to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? And now, Gillian mentioned it, all local contractors bypassed and so on. The contract also talks about how it could be terminated. It says, termination by the employer, that's the government, HTC, shall also pay to the contractor. Listen, termination. What has happened? They have said they have terminated the contract. Termination by the employer, that's us. If that happens, the employer shall also pay to the contractor. the amount of any loss of profit or other loss or damage sustained by the contractor as a result of termination, whether the commencement date has begun or not. So whether the work started or didn't start, the government has to pay the contractor the amount of the loss, any loss of profit or damage sustained. There was an article in the Express, and they have calculated that may amount to about $43 million at this point. Imbert in the Parliament answered the question last day when asked any penalties that will come from termination of this contract. Excuse me. Imbert said, not at this time. He didn't say no. He said, not at this time. So stay tuned. Let us see how much money this piece of work done by the government is going to cost the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They entered in $1 billion contract, and then the company could just cancel it. There's no cost. No cost. I call on the Prime Minister to come clean on this issue. Imagine you enter into an agreement to buy a piece of land. You know, you pay a deposit. When you enter an agreement, you pay a deposit. When you change your mind the next day, you know what happens. Unless there's something reasonable why, you lost the deposit. You lose the deposit. So they must tell us why they chose to do business with a company World Bank has on the watch, intensive care, and how much money you, taxpayer, will have to pay this company for this deal that went down. So my friends, we have seen the bromance between Rowley and Stuart. We saw them traveling all over the world, and every single deal they broke up has collapsed. Remember the dragon gas slave? They fly off to Venezuela and do their whatever dance. The dragon can't dance anymore. That deal has totally collapsed. The secret of Sanders deal was behind that as well. Stuart Young and Rowley collapsed. Australia, the boats I told you about, and now these Chinese, they were all negotiated by one and the same person. The caddy boy to Keith Rowley, Stuart Young. He is in every one of these deals, every one of them, and they have all collapsed. So let's talk about another development. I'd spoken last day. You see, and these are things the government doesn't want us to talk about. They want you to forget, and they want you to start to talk about yard fowl and talk about BBC and all these things. You know? Yes, we talk about that and make a joke, but the serious business still remains that Chinese contract, and Rowley has to answer. He must answer. And then we come now to Imbert's apartments. Last time I spoke on the Monday night, I spoke to you and I showed you all the documentation where Rowley owns the apartment block on Picton Street. Imbert, sorry. Well, who knows? You never know. But, so Imbert, pull it back. Imbert owns, the Minister of Finance owns it through a company known as Belgrave Properties. He owns it, and his wife and son and himself, they're directors, and he is the shareholder, the owner of this property. Last time I asked questions. He has not answered a single question, by the way. But I see their spokesperson in the Express put out a story today saying that Imbert did declare his interest. Whereas there's a conflict of interest. Imbert, did you declare your interest, that you had an interest as a developer, and therefore when you were doing this bill in the Parliament, himself to get tax exemption when you're selling these properties? Did you declare your interest? So today, they printed an article. Not Imbert enough. The Express itself, a reporter from the Express, puts out the article saying in the Parliament, Imbert did say, I was a developer before and I'll be a developer. I may be a developer again. And therefore, what he says in the article, therefore Imbert declared his interest. Look, it doesn't stop there. The law is very clear. It is not only you must declare your interest, but you must disqualify yourself from any decision-making process. Section 29 of the Integrity in Public Law Act makes it very clear. If you're a person in public life, and the Minister of Finance is a person in public life, and if you're so, you must so arrange your business not to advance your own personal gain. And if there is a conflict of interest, there clearly is a conflict of interest here. Because you see, before, there was never such a provision in the law. They tied up with somebody who is Suraj Ramachan, who is a developer of residential properties. That exemption was already in the law for residential properties, yeah? Single family dwelling houses. That was already there. What they did in Finance Bill number 2 of 2016 was to extend the time to say up to 2025 you can claim the exemption. So it was already in the law, the exemption, and that exemption saying if a man building residential properties and some commercial ones and car parks, you have an exemption up to 2018 in terms of taxes. If you sell it or whatever, rent it, you have it. That was there. Don't get tied up, you know. They twist and turn everything like a corkscrew. That's how they are. They twist and distort everything. So understand, the Income Tax Act already had those exemptions. What they did, they changed 2018 for residential, single residential, car parks, and something else I mentioned. The taxes for those when you sell them or rent them, up to 2018, extended now to 2025. What is totally new in income tax law, totally new, is the new section 43 that Imbert put in himself to himself, which says to a multi-family dwelling, you will be exempt from paying tax if you sell it or if you rent it. And Rowley is building how many units I told you last time? Can I remember? No, not 5,000. They are about 2.7 million per unit. Imbert, you know, they're 2.7 million per unit, and they're 22 units, which takes it up to $55 million when they're sold. 55 million. So let's talk about himself to himself, tax exemptions. This piece of law was never there. When Minister Imbert came to the Parliament to pilot the bill, let's backtrack. First, a bill like that has to go to Cabinet for approval. That's how I know it. Before a bill is laid in the Parliament, the Cabinet has to see it and approve it. So my first question is this. When that went for Cabinet approval, did Minister Imbert declare his interest? And having declared his interest, did he then withdraw and disqualify himself in the Cabinet from taking the decision to send that to the Parliament? I believe the answer to those questions are no, but let the Minister come and tell us. And he will have to answer to the Integrity Commission, because we are going to write the Integrity Commission. That's the first step. You know what would be very interesting too? Is to see who took the note to the Cabinet. Because my memory of how the Cabinet works, it would be the Minister of Finance, because it's a finance bill. So did the Minister of Finance take the note to Cabinet to approve the tax exemption for multi-family dwellings like his? Did he? And then I said, did he declare and did he withdraw himself? Okay, so he comes to the Parliament now. He said, well, I was a developer and I may be a developer again. So okay, he says, okay, well, so they say that's declaring your interest, but as I just read to you, the law is very clear. You don't just say, okay, fellas, you don't have a conflict of interest here, you know, okay, fine, and sit down there and vote yes, 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 yes. You have to withdraw completely from decision making. Did he do that in the Cabinet? No. Did he do it in the Parliament? Definitely no. We don't know what happened in the Cabinet, they don't want to answer us, they will answer to the Integrity Commission. But in the Parliament, it is clear he did not disqualify himself from the decision-making process. So, there we go with him. And you know why it is important? I am now told, when I raised this issue, I didn't have the information, but I am now told that the application for approval for the building, that the apartment buildings in Picton Street, was somewhere in 2014. They applied for it. and the actual approval was given in 2019. So in 2016, when Minister Imbert was dealing with this bill in Cabinet and then in Parliament, in law we say at all material times, 2016 in piloting this bill, he knew that he had an application for multi-story, multi-dwelling to get tax exemption. So this definitely warrants investigation by the Integrity Commission, and we will take it there as we go forward and ask our lawyers to help us to draft that letter. I close now. Those are two issues, and I'm not going to go into Marlene Gate. I think there are a lot of people who are very anxious on me to talk about Marlene Gate. All I'll say about Marlene Gate is this: the matter is sub judice, and I'm a lawyer. I know better than to put my mouth where I don't. And so tonight, I really want to thank everyone, all those of you who offered your best wishes for my good health. I got a lot of calls and texts and emails. People knew that I was down with the flu virus. Your concern is much appreciated, and I'm very happy to report I am on the mend, not totally, but I'm getting there. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much. And to thank the many people who offered me words of support and encouragement, especially in the wake of Rowley's most recent rant. Brothers and sisters, I've had a very long career, as you know, in law, in academia, and in public life. And I often reflect on my journey of service to you, the people of TNT, and how I was able to weather the trials and the tribulations, the hurt and the pain, the malice, the acrimony, all by the grace of my Almighty God, and because of your prayers, your support, and your loyalty. You are the inspiration which sustains and bolsters me to continue in the battle against this cruel and heartless Rowley regime. With God as our guide, standing shoulder to shoulder, our hands joined in common purpose and unbreakable unity, we shall march forward out of darkness and towards a dawn illuminated by the rising sun. You know that personal insults, false accusations from political opponents, that's nothing new to me. Nothing new to me. Obscene invectives, vitriolic degradation, vindictive abasement, spiteful lies. All these and more I've had to bear over the years. Recall almost 12 years ago, some of you may remember, on October 7, 2007, I stood on a stage, a UNC stage, at McCenter Mall, and I shared with you some of what I had to endure over the years. I told you how I was a lone female voice amidst a legion of men who sometimes argued and cussed each other. And in that combative environment, I tried to be a calming and nurturing influence. I told you then how I bore the brunt of the whims and insecurities and the very male attitudes of certain colleagues on both sides of the political aisles. Remember that. And in spite of all the years of untruths, all the years of vindication and defamation, yet still I rise. Yet still I rise. So I say here to Keith Rowley tonight, more accomplishment than you, Keith Rowley, have unsuccessfully tried to degrade, to demean, to slander, and humiliate me. And I have consigned all of them into the political graveyard. So, I tell you tonight, I'm giving you a tip-off here tonight, Mr. Rowley. If the name man call election day and take it, we will win. We will rise. Through the words of the very late great poetess Maya Angelou, I want to send a clear message to Keith Christopher Rowley and his team, his cohorts tonight. And I'm quoting from a very beautiful poem, which is very inspiring. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt but still, like dust, I will rise. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I will rise. Like I said in 2007, Kamala Prasad Bisesa is a woman who may at times get knocked down, but I will always rise again. I have been falsely accused of conspiracy to commit murder. You remember that email date. Plots for hash to dishonestly link me to plant-like substances that's become ganja heat, and still I rise. Malicious hearsay which slandered my name abounded over the past several days, even as I am recuperating from the flu virus. Yet still, I rise. And as Jerry always tells us, and as the great Michelle Obama told us, when they go low, we will go high. When they go low, we must go higher. And so we must rise far above the din, above the raging animosity, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. When malicious slander hurts us like poison daggers, I want us to remember these words from the Psalms. I call on the Lord in my distress, and he answers me. Save us, Lord, from lying lips and from deceitful tongues. Rowdy and his squads can concoct whatever untruths they want. I will not stand up. I will not be afraid. The love from our supporters in our party and from the people of our land, together with the love and grace of God, is all we need to focus on our mission, to rescue our nation from the destructive rowdy government. We must take hold of our nation so we can transform it into a prosperous, equitable, secure land, grounded in sustainable development and governance. So even as the rowdy government continues to bludgeon everyone, as a tyrannical or oppressive government, I ask you to lift your hands in prayer. Lift your hands to heaven in prayer. Turn your faces away from the bitterness of the Balishé and raise your eyes and look towards the rising sun. With a bouncing faith in the Creator and in the righteousness of our cause, we shall lift up our battered brothers and sisters. We will rise upon the tide of victory together in the rising sun. We will rise. We will rise. We will rise. I thank you and God bless you.
If for 30 years you voting them in, and there's only tears as soon as they win, they give you big words and enslave your souls, promising you roads and giving potholes. If they are the reason why the economy won't sprout, when you're voting, vote them out, vote them out. If it is the passing laws that them alone can flout, when you're voting, vote them out, vote them out.
So, the chairman of the Moruga Table and Executive, the councillor for that marginal electoral district, Hindustan St. Mary's, Councillor Michelle Benjamin, would like to say thank you.
Hindustan St. Mary's, Moruga Table, we are going back to UNC. I thank you for coming out. I thank you for the warm embrace to our political leader. And as you heard here tonight, you heard them outline all this wickedness that this administration is doing to us. And you heard her map the way forward. We are going back into government. Moruga Table, let's signal that local government, Hindustan is UNC and shall remain UNC. And we are going for Lengua in their law. Let them mark our words. Thank you. I want to thank everyone that was instrumental in putting together this meeting, and I want to thank our former MP Clifton Likoto, for his steady stewardship and the shoulders on which myself and Laura stand on.
Then your only hope is for them to go. If it is fabrication, these statements that they spout, when you're voting, vote them out, vote them out. If it is that frustration does make you want to shout, when you're voting, vote them out.